And I noticed that the left side boot cowl skin didn't quite fit. And what I narrowed it down to is that the bottom here on the other side has a much tighter radius. You can tell. So this is the left side, and this radius down here is actually much tighter, so it was interfering with the lower tube of the frame. This side fit quite well, this one didn't, so I'm trying to figure out a way to undo that bend a little bit. And so far I've come up with like a broomstick type thing to kind of unroll it. Let's see if it works. Well, I've been kind of jumping around a lot, as I guess is common or normal in this part of the build. When you get to the interior, you kind of can just work on whatever. If you follow this, the boot cowl would be next. And I started with the firewall, you saw that video. The floorboard, which I messed up, got a new one. And then I kind of did the flap handle while I was waiting. Looked at the battery box, but we're not sure what battery box we're gonna do. Started the tank, didn't finish that. I'm kind of back at the boot cowl. So everything that's highlighted is stuff that is done. And I'm kind of going back to all of this stuff is done. Nose gear doesn't apply to us. And we're back here with the boot cowl. Initial assembly was done by George, so that is actually done. So I guess, yeah, I skipped a lot of steps ahead. So there's no avoiding going back to the dreaded boot cowl. I call it dreaded just because it's monotonous and everybody hates it. But I think I can do it. So we have the firewall. It's undercoated. Got some insulation that I cut for it. And basically what I did now is just went back here. I already checked off everything that I did. And I'm hoping that these, I say 2 hours, 4 hours, 5.5 hours, 2 hours, 1.5 hours, that all this stuff will come together really quick because I'm only assembling it. I've already done all the hard work. So back to the boot cowl. All right, it's a whole bunch of back and forth. Measuring this, measuring that, measuring this, and then they want you to tape it. I did edge these corners. I have this pretty tight, so these were a little different. You saw me rolling it to get it on there. I have, you know, an awkward gap there, but I'm okay with that because when this stretches out, I kind of have the same gap on this side. So it's not pulled all the way back. This is as close as I can get it. I verified these measurements, like that measurement. The way it lines up with the landing gear underneath here. I basically took as many reference points as possible and get it as close, or at least average it so both sides are the same. I'm into that symmetry thing. And, well, that gap is actually, ooh, yeah, that's significantly bigger on that side. I think I'll take another look at that. But then the next step will be to start match drilling this one and work your way from the top down. So, here we go. Alright, so we made our little spacers. I did my little famous chamfer to save weight, And what we noticed is that the tabs are not equal spaced on both sides, so you can't do them symmetrical, but you can get them close. So they basically have to label them right, left. But once they're in, they're in. George is over here making some precision 2-inch, 1/64 spacing to get them nice and even.
Yeah, 1 1/63, 64.
There you go. And yeah, we're gonna deburr them and get them lined up. Don't wipe the, oh, we'll figure it out, the label off. I labeled them left and right. And
I didn't. It's on.
So the next thing they want you to do is basically put all that back together, transfer drill these. So we have a little bit of an overhang here and this kind of buckles in. So I'm gonna take a look at where this will sit best. And if I read it correctly, they want you to duct tape this on, which I don't know. I'm gonna try a strap. So we'll see where that leads. So the instructions say to have the firewall skin and these tabs just flush or inside, which they are, except on both sides I have this protruding, you know, 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch, and it's symmetrical. And I was kind of wrapping my head around, you know, should I loosen this bolt? But I don't want to have the engine mount suck it back in and then buckle the side. So I'd rather have it sit in its position before I rivet these. But then I found out, I took a solid ruler. I'm looking at this and it didn't look quite straight, and sure enough, I know it's bent, but this actually bows out from the way the skin is cut. Anyway, if anybody else is wasting time thinking about it, I think that's part of the problem, not all of the problem, but I'm going to leave that protruding and go ahead with transfer drilling these. All right, nice productive evening. We got the entire, oops, stepping onto the floorboard here. Got the entire, I don't even know what you call it, the lips, the support tanks for the firewall made it to the side skins. And we even did all underneath here. And the idea, I think I showed it before, with having the straps going around. And then I put wood on the edge there, you know, to help push it up. And then George and I basically just kept tension pushing this in and that up. And I'm very, very happy with the fit. I mean, I still have to do these down here, but all of this came out really, really nice. It's relatively well lined up. I still got to match drill this bottom one, but I got to relieve some pressure to get my hole finder in there. Inside we put all of the spacers in. Here you can see the little washer rings that I was talking about. And we got the stiffeners in there. We're kind of contemplating on maybe doing something in here. So again, putting the sealant between the tube and the skin made it really solid. And we'll probably do the same thing up here. I think it made a big difference. This gap's obviously a little bit too big, so we were talking about maybe using, you know, the leftover stiffeners, kind of putting one along there and then gluing it to this, but just kind of throwing some ideas around. But next step was put this panel frame in, so we did that, but that's where we're leaving it, right? Yeah. What do you think? Good progress, huh? All right, good night. Here I am again, procrastinating, going to bed, even though it's a work week. So I finished match drilling all those just to finish that chapter and get those in. And then I'm looking at this, because I like to look. And the instructions do say to put this stiffener between the skin and the tab. Now the stiffener up here is spaced back quite a bit, and then there's another mounting tab here. So what happens, well, first of all, I edge formed the skin because I did it up here too. I like the way it blends it, and I did it down here. But I'm looking at this gap. I don't know if you can see. So I honestly think I'm gonna try and move. Might have to trim it a little bit to move that to the other side of it to eliminate that. And it's doing the same thing on that side. I'll give that a whirl. Now, good night. All right, I would recommend doing that. That was a worthwhile move. I did it on the top stiffener. I put the one to the door behind the tab, and then between the skin and the tab on all the other ones, including here and here. But I'm still gonna give this a little more of an edge over, whatever, edge forming, whatever you wanna call it. But we got rid of that bow here and made this nice and tight up there. And I will probably do the same trick that I did along here by putting some double-sided acrylic tape along the edge. It just helps get it here to that, or that seam sealer on the back side of it. Just makes it nice and solid.